Yes, temperatures are finally getting up here around my house, so time to pull out the summer wardrobe. Beyond that, welcome to Cindy's Library. I am Cindy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. So, today we are going to do The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. So, you may already have some familiarity with this. There was a short movie made by Disney years and years ago. I think they released a two-parter, The Adventures of uh, Ichabod Crane and The Adventures of Mr. Toad. And indeed, Mr. Toad is a very prominent character in The Wind and the Willows, but he is not the only one. One could argue he is the most prominent, but he's not even necessarily uh, the most important in some ways, because everything really starts with Mole. Mole, uh, I like Mole. He is so nice, so full of wonder, and such a nice character. But it all starts when spring is beginning and the earth is stirring, and Mole is doing his spring cleaning, but he can't take it anymore, and he goes off on an adventure in the outside world above his hole. And it is then when he meets the water rat. And the water rat is also a great character. Rumor has him that he was based on Q, as in the Q that uh, Helene uh, Neff, I want to say, she wrote 84 Charing Cross Road. Anyway, his books taught her everything she knew about literature. Prominent Oxford scholar. So if there is any truth to that, that is, well, very fun. It's probably the right time period. Kenneth Grahame and Q were indeed contemporaries. But yep, Mole leaves his hole, makes friends with Water Rat, who teaches him all about the river they live close to. Well, Rat especially lives practically on the riverbank. And how to boat and everything, and introduces him to his friends. So the otter, and he introduces him to the badger eventually, who is also another great character. A bit shy and rough around the edges, but heart of gold once you get to know him. And of course, Mr. Toad. Mr. Toad, he tends to get obsessive about fads and crazes. And the one he is on when the water rat first introduces Mole to Mr. Toad is living in a caravan, which is, I can see how it has appeal in some ways. Of course, Toad doesn't even consider about what that kind of a life would really be like and the hard part of it. But that doesn't matter so much because it's only a few days after he sets out on his first expedition with Water Rat and Mole. not entirely willing partners in crime and going off and exploring with the caravan and a horse when they get run off the road by a motor car and the caravan is basically destroyed. And Toad now has a new fascination. Yep, motor cars. And it gets him, to say the least, in a lot of trouble. And so a lot of these deal with Toad's adventures with automobiles, the trouble he gets into and trying to get out of trouble again, etc., and so forth. But there are chapters that focus completely on other things. We have the meeting with uh, Mr. Badger for the first time, which is quite important. Toad is not involved in that at all. Uh, Same with when Water Rat visits Mole's Hole for the very first time. There's also Adventures in the Wild Wood, which at least the first time Mole really doesn't know what he is doing, but he wants to meet Badger and that's where he lives. And there's also the adventure of finding, I think it's Otter's son who is lost. I mean, he's always wandering off, but this time he really seems to be lost. Hasn't been seen for days and no one knows what's happened to him. So there's that adventure at all. And the adventure of when a water rat meets a sea rat who's actually traveled on oceans and such. So all of those adventures. And they aren't necessarily all connected to each other. Toad's is really the most through line through anything. Some of the others seem more episodic. But amazing, amazing. This is the second time I have read it. The first time, I'm not sure I completely got it, so I didn't dislike it. But this time, I understood it better and quite enjoyed it. And let's see if I can find some. Well, here is a good one. Yep, this edition is illustrated by author Rackham, who is known as a very prominent illustrator at the time. Here's another funny one with Toad. And there's an afterwards by Dave Stewart Davies. And it even includes an original introduction by A. Mills of Winnie the Pooh fame. So this would be an excellent book to read with children. I think the imaginative part they will get easier than perhaps some adults will. It's very fun and you got some great characters. And if Toad is a bit ridiculous, well, sometimes people are that way and none of us are perfect. And even Toad learns a few things by the end, more out of necessity than anything else. But anyway, I wanted to do this book review of The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. If you've read it, I'd love to hear what you thought about it down below. Until next time, I hope we all stay safe and healthy. And as always, happy reading!